Hi, everyone, and welcome to the fifth episode of Great Conversations. Today, again, is a really special episode with three renowned CEOs of the WordPress ecosystem joining me to discuss how technology can be and needs to be the driver for productivity in web agencies. Welcome with me, Vito Pelek, co founder and CEO of Atarim, Aurelio Woll, co founder and CEO of WP Umbrella, as well as great CEO Mark Weisbrot, for whom it's also the first time on this show. So, welcome everyone. And yeah, today we're going to talk about productivity and efficiency in web agencies and why this year it's more important than ever to put together the right tech stack. I think that at least two of you have an agency background themselves, and all three of your companies offer agency tools that tackle different productivity challenges that agencies usually meet. We will talk about this in more detail later, but for starters, I'd like to invite each of you to, briefly introduce yourselves and give a short summary of what your companies do. Maybe, let's start with Aurelio.
With pleasure. Thank you, Sandra. So I'm Aurelio. I'm the co-founder and CEO of WP Umbrella, which is a WordPress management tool that helps agencies to manage multiple WordPress sites regardless of the hosting provider from a single place. And we basically allow them to do bulk updates on a hundred of plugins on hundreds of websites in just one click. We do backups. We manage the backup. We store the backups. We do many things. Basically, we cover all the scope of what's called WordPress maintenance. And based on what people do with the WP umbrella, we automatically send to their clients a very good looking PDF report to help them prove the value of WordPress maintenance. Um, in a nutshell, that's what we do. And as of today, we are installed on a bit more than 40,000 WordPress websites.
That's impressive. Thank you very much. Mark, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, I'm an agency owner or was an agency owner by accident. I'm more an entrepreneur and economist by heart. Yeah, Greyd is a suite, a software suite that enables you to build websites very efficiently on the site editor. But furthermore, it enables you to build very complex websites, hundreds of websites, multi-site systems. For example, if you think about a franchise system like restaurants, think about you want to change something on a pattern centrally and roll it out to hundreds of restaurants. With Greyd, you can do that with one click. And from the other side, think about a store manager who just wants to change something on his very specific site, not on the others. He can do that also with Greyd, and he doesn't need any technical or developer skills. And therefore, we created a suite. And this is very new to WordPress because in the past, we had all those plugins, all those builders whatsoever. But with Greyd, you have it all in one product.
Thank you. And last but not least, Vito.
Hi, I'm Vito. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Atarim. We help design teams streamline their delivery process. And that means everything from gathering content, approving designs, and providing ongoing supports to clients, stakeholders, but also collaboration within the team. Our goal, or what we are able to do, is reduce between 50 to 70% of the time that it takes to deliver any design project in the space. And currently, there's 51,000 teams that are using our solution with 1.4 million of their team members, stakeholders, and clients. And yeah, I've known the guys here from events previously before, and it's great to be here on the show.
Thank you. I think we could summarize that all of your software solutions help agencies streamline workflows, automating tasks, and in general, increase productivity and efficiency, which will be today's topic. So, let's start with last year. 2024 has been economically challenging for many agencies in Europe. This year might be even more. And unfortunately, this economic pressure has also forced a lot of agencies that we know of to actually close their doors. Mark, you just published a recap blog article of 2024 and wrote about how this highlights a critical truth that in today's market, efficiency and automation aren't just nice to have features anymore, but in fact, there are survival tools. Could you please elaborate what you mean by that?
I mean, as being an economist, I'm not just looking on the WordPress community, but I have the whole economy on mind. And the last 10 years, that was a golden age for Germany. It was kind of nice, and especially the Corona time, where basically every digital business just skyrocketed, and that time ended. Yeah, and personnel is expensive, but furthermore, the labor market is empty. But creating websites, we are in a global market. So our competitors are not just in Germany or France, they are in India. And for example, I get emails and offers from India, Bangladesh, you name it, every day. But still, German agencies are building websites with the same tools, with the same technology, and they want to compete with countries and companies that are way cheaper. So if you want to survive, you can't compete with staff cost. You need to be more productive, more automated, etc. So if you're an agency, in my point of view, you have to develop further, or the most part of the agencies, they will die, because the old business model, I think that's gone forever.
Possibly, yeah. You already mentioned cost. A promise that also all of your solutions have in common is that you try saving your customers time, and time basically is money. So being able to finish projects in less time is cost reduction. Aurelio, what would you say are the typical cost drivers in web agencies?
There are many things. Of course, like administrative task, but basically, it it's all it's only a matter of ratio between cost and money that's named productivity. And in what Mark has said, I think we need to distinguish two things. They are the things that we can easily and automatically replace and automate, such as WordPress maintenance, to turn this activity, for instance, into a profitable source of income. And on the other hand, you also have like high value tasks that you cannot automate. And to complete what Mark said, I think agencies need to work on those two pillars, like being better at things that are very valuable, and automating everything they can where they could be replaced by AI or by cheaper workload, if I can say. Uh, and so basically, it's only about return on investment of your actions. Uh, and for instance, on administrative tasks, on updating plugins, you name it. As soon as you're a business owners, like this kind of tiny constraint where you have absolutely no value, and nowadays they can almost all of them can be automated.
Automated and also at least centralized, isn't it?
Indeed. Indeed.
Vito, Atarim, and you guys are focusing a lot on the entire communication part of the daily agency business. Is this a cost driver too?
100%. In fact, what we found, and this is a very easy experiment that we can do because everyone here built a website in the past. But generally, when someone goes on to build a small business website, like a 5-page website as an example, if they do it on their own, it's usually going to take 3 to 5 days tops. Sometimes even 1 day for some folks, especially with modern tools and with Greyd at your back. But to deliver this to a client, that's a completely different game. So the same model that usually took 3 days, now on average becomes 4 to 6 weeks, which is an inherent increase of 520% to every type of delivery or every type of design that needs to be delivered and collaborated on with clients. So we focus on this 520% in increased delivery time, which is insane. With AI, this is probably going to get more into the 1000% increase because the creation time is going to get squashed by another 90%. So I definitely, this is our game to chip into this part of the flow. And while I agree, and we also automate many of the daily workflows and the admin tasks, within the communication and project management and client experience within through Atarim. I am a huge advocate for actually maintaining those human touches. I think that this is going to be the place where agencies will thrive, especially in the upcoming years. So while I agree that there's much more competition coming from offshore organizations, but even from directly here on your computer, where you can go to and try to DIY your way into something that is cohesive. Professionals can create a website. That's not a debate. Like it's not that hard to create a website with today's available tools, if you have the know-how and you understand the theory behind this a little bit and whatever. But in terms of time, it's not a big undertaking. The service delivery is where problems often arise, but also where a lot of the opportunities come from to build relationships with clients that are then long lasting for many, many years. And basically thinking of that initial experience with the client as more as just the first step towards a long lasting relationship where we exchange value. And I think that this is what we see with many of the agencies over the past couple of years, that instead of trying to go wide, there are some, the white label services, the different type of operations instead, but most agencies that want to go, they want to increase their prices and increase their profitability. They actually try to focus on a small group of clients that they can provide very specific value to them at scale, so that they can increase their intake of that client over time. And that's especially important in the world of the agency space, where profit is usually extremely slim, and there's all of these fluctuations of like feast and famine that happens often in our space. So with this, it's very important to make sure that you have like this backlog of work that you can bring up to the table, that you execute on that fast with modern tools and this, but also that you are able to deliver that quickly, because that's basically what's going to get that client coming back for the next project, as well as that client referring you to the next client that you will have right after that. So our main focus is on that service delivery, make it human but fast.
I really like that perspective. Speaking about human, what about personal? This, I take it, was also a huge cost driver, isn't it?
Sorry, I didn't catch that last one.
Personnel, so staff cost. Mark, this is probably a question for you. I think this is also in most agency a huge cost driver.
I mean, I would like to double down on the human experience that Vito talked about. I mean, yeah, personnel is expensive, and as I said, the labor market is empty. But furthermore, it's that your high qualified developers, for example, at Greyd, we need highly skilled developers, because technology-wise we are pretty edgy, and those people, they don't want to do bullshit jobs anymore. They want to do interesting things, yeah. And because of that, we can hire on the market pretty easily because we let them do interesting things, yeah. So if you want to have high skilled people, you give them interesting work, and basically in most of the time that's productive. You automate the rest of it, and then you have a human experience, because on our side, on the software side, our people like their jobs, so they stay, and that is a good human experience. But furthermore, our customers, yeah, they don't have to update 200 websites at the same time. Yeah, they can do that with one click, and that is also human experience. So out of their time, they can do something interesting. So it's not just about the money, it's also about the feeling. Yeah, a marketing guy today has to do things that a couple of years ago a developer had to do. Yeah, and we have to go into direction even further, so people feel happy with their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that. So it's not just that you want to save cost, it's also that you might need to increase efficiency to being able to offer a much better experience to the customer, and also to maybe focus on certain niches that enable you also maybe to charge higher prices, because the value is higher that you charge. Um, One thing that I often get asked by people, and for example at WordCamps or other events, is maybe this is not an issue for anyone, so for everyone. So maybe there are agencies out there that, at least at the moment, do perfectly fine, and they might ask themselves, do we need really need to go through all this trouble? Do we really need to grow each and every year? Can we just move on like we have to and be confident with the customers we have? Do you really need to grow all the time?
I'll be happy to take that one.
Depends on your answer.
So the way I look at this is that if you're not growing, you're dying. And so this is true in economics. I'm sure that we're gonna get an agreement here as well. But the point is that you can get to a place where you're um, providing for your family, but in that's more on the financial side. It still doesn't mean that you're not gonna grow. You need to look for the next challenge, the next thing that is gonna excite you to actually do what you do most of your time during the day, which is here and work and and get fulfillment from that. I'm a strong believer in this, that this is what we do, what we create from something out of nothing is what brings us the happiness in what we do. And if you get stagnated, then this just doesn't happen. You just get into the rat race, and nothing really good comes out of it in most cases. So I think, yeah, always aspire to grow, if not financially, and but some people feel comfortable on that side. That's all totally cool, but it doesn't mean that we can't grow in what we do and expand the new opportunities that are happening around us, especially in the time we're living in. This is even more important than ever to make sure that we stay cutting edge in our approach to the way we do work and our work itself.
That's really a nice one. And I think also an issue that many agencies face, that if they want to do bigger things and they want to go like next level and maybe tackle enterprise projects, that usually requires you to hire more people because there's a lot more processes, a lot more work to do. And like we just talked about, those more people, you might not be able to afford them, or you might not be able to get the people that you need on the job market, actually. So
Well, I think that if your goal is to grow, hiring a team around you is one of the best ways to do it. Not only that you're bringing a few more brains into the game, but you also create a level of accountability to other people's livelihood and families that puts you in a place that failing is very low on your priority list. You know.
Indeed, indeed.
yeah, and from time to time, those people that you hired, they might also be asking for salary increases or inflation thing. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, today's topic is not just boosting productivity in general, but also how technology is the key driver to do that. So, do I really need to invest in all those great tools out there? I mean, we've talked about Greyd, Atarim, and WP Umbrella today as an example. I mean, those tools, they cost money too, and especially in the WordPress ecosystem, people sometimes tend to be hesitant when it comes to investing in technology. Mark, I think you know what I'm talking about. So, what's your statement on that? Is technology the solution to scale and to become more productive?
I mean, parts of it, yes. And in the last couple of months, especially on WordCamps, everybody talked about the enterprise realm. Why? Yeah, because those are the big projects, yeah, and those are often complex projects. And today in Germany, it's hard to sell a website for 5,000 euro and earn money with that. So, as Vito said, or as Aurelio said, you always aim for the bigger things, for more revenue, but that is complex. So you see those big systems, those multi-site systems, and you think that's more revenue, yeah. But it's also complex. But it means long-term investment for the customer. It means maybe ongoing revenues from maintenance retainers, and then you need software like WP Umbrella and Atarim. It also means you can plan your revenues. It means more security for your company and your employees. That's totally fine. That's nice to have, yeah. But you have to qualify for that, yeah. And that is the problem. And if you want to qualify for that, you need complex software to do that. I mean, and we talk to a lot of agencies because those are our customers. And in the last couple of months, they all say, I want to have maintenance retainers. That is nice, yeah. But then you have to do the maintenance, yeah. And that is still hours that you have to spend. And you need those tools to be productive, and they cost money, and you need to spend that money. And from my point of view, I mean, you need a scalable hosting, you need a software to build websites efficiently, no matter how complex they are, because if you build that your own custom code, etc., you won't earn that much money with that. But then you need a tool to manage any number of websites efficiently, and you need a tool to handle all that communication. Yeah. And basically, this is why tools like WP Umbrella and Atarim and also Greyd are absolutely necessary. You need that combination. You need the human skills, but you also need the tool set to do that. Yeah. If you have very incomplex systems, you can't maintain hundreds of websites. It's just not possible. Yeah.
Maybe it's sorry.
And I think it's not a cost, and it should not be seen as a cost. It's an investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have affordable products from what I know of your pricing guys, and I think agencies, they need to realize that, okay, and most of them, they know it. There is the cost of the software, there is the time it's going to save you, but like Vito said, there is also the burden, the mental load that's going to be taken away from your hand if you start using the right tool to automate and remove and take care of these boring tasks. And in the end, it's all about the value that these tools allow you to deliver to yourself, to your team, or to your clients. And for instance, the WP Umbrella costs $2 per month per website. So it's like $25 per year. If you are an agency and if you are not able to afford this, it means that your WordPress care packages are way too cheap for your clients. And I think it's also something in the WordPress ecosystem that needs to be worked on, because I mean, we're all pirates. We all started, I think, in WordPress. Almost, we spoke about this, Vito, I think. But like all the people that create an agency, almost all of the time, it's by mistake. You started to do a website, and then you do 5, and then you do 10, and then, oh shit, you need a dev, and oh shit, you need a marketing person, and your team grow, and you end up with like an agency. And sometimes I think people lack of confidence in their expertise because they have started this way, and they need to probably increase their pricing and to be confident in the quality of the services they are delivering to their clients. And this is like a green loop where everybody wins in the end. You are using the good software, your clients feel good because they feel they are being taken care of by good hands. Um, and I think it's how it should be. Not see software as a cost, but see them as an investment.
And just one thing that I want to add, if you want to sell to enterprises, they know what software costs. They buy Salesforce and other stuff. So, I mean, they don't care in the end. Yeah. If you are too cheap, then that is also a sign that you're not part of the game. Yeah. That doesn't make sense at all. Yeah.
And I want to echo both of what you were saying, because what we see as we're serving all the way from freelancers to the enterprise, we can see that the larger the organization, the more understanding there is of what we call internally as ROI multiplier. Is basically what we're trying to provide to our users when and when we do, like, for example, with an enterprise, when we do a pilot, we quantify this into actual monetary value to show them, okay, we're gonna 17x your investment on the software in terms of wages saved and time saved and so on. So it brings a different type of conversation into the game. But I think that people at the beginning, and I think we've all been there. Who here hasn't downloaded Adobe Photoshop to their computer, or BitTorrented, Adobe back in the day, and like, you deal with all of the bugs and all of the viruses and all of that just to avoid paying $30 a month, and it crashes every 20 minutes, and you lose all your work just to avoid that payment, because at that point, I think that in our journey we don't still associate our time with actual tangible value, But once that starts happening, and again, this comes back to the point of hiring some folks to the team, then you have a very clear economics of, okay, I'm spending this amount of money per hour for this person, and I expect to get this amount of money in return for their billable time or their general salary at the end of the month. And so then it really becomes like, okay, how can I get them to be more effective with the time that I'm already paying them for? So even if you're small, the same calculation still applies. You just need to apply this to yourself. I just finish with one last thing on this, because I remember that back in the day when in the first year of us launching this launching back then, it was a WordPress plugin. I put it as a goal to talk to 100 agency owners or freelancers that would get on a call with me, just see how they're doing, what is their workflow, how do they kind of handle their day to day. And one of the interesting things that I found from this experience is that when we did the calculation, when we went down to the numbers, most freelancers that I spoke to were actually charging around $5 to $7 an hour for their time without realizing it. Because they haven't got to that place that they can understand the profit margins and those kind of things, and they just wanted to build beautiful websites. So it takes, if you want to make it beautiful, it needs attention to detail, therefore time, and again, all of those collaboration processes and whatever. So I echo what Oreo said, that specifically in our space, people are definitely undervaluing their own time. It's a good exercise to look at your previous project and try to quantify this into how many hours did this actually take. How much of my focus went into this compared to any other stuff that I could be working on, and was it profitable? Most times it's not going to be the case. And that's why, like, as people grow, then they understand the value of software. That's where enterprises really see that as just an exchange of value. I'm already spending money on labor. So how can I get more of that by putting in another 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 a year on a piece of software that can accelerate them?
And if I can add something, Sandra, and then I stop hijacking your flow. It's a hard process to go in that place where you realize that it's not a cost, it's an investment. And to give you a good example, when we started WP Umbrella, we were doing the ticketing with Gmail. It was insane, you know. And as soon as we started to get money, we started to invest in tool. And for instance, my co-founder is a true entrepreneur, and is all in on productivity and on tool. And somehow I'm a very bad entrepreneur. And when we started, I was like, but no, let's be cheap. Let's keep our money. You don't know what. And to give a testimonial, since I changed this mindset, I think it was 2 years, 3 years ago, everything is much more easy because you are more confident in the decision you made, and you start to see like the glass half full and not half empty. Because it's
Right.
not a risk, it's an investment for the future, and my time is precious, and I'm going to be there.
Yeah, and it's not an irreversible decision. If the tool doesn't provide the value that you expected, then churn.
Yep, absolutely. You're right.
Okay. I'm really happy about how this conversation goes. I mean, this is you just said you don't want to disturb my flow, but I mean, this is actually the concept of great conversations. We want to get people here in the show get into a conversation. So I'm really happy about that. Um, Maybe to give our listeners a much better feeling of how the process actually looks like. Maybe we could go through an example project and have a look like how this web project would probably look like if tools like Greyd, Atarim, and WP Umbrella are involved. So I don't know, maybe let's assume we have a mid-sized agency. They are hired to relaunch some enterprise project or enterprise website, and it's not just an easy landing page, so it has some complex stuff in it, like, I don't know, connecting the enterprise's CRM, syncing some content from the customer support tool, whatever. There are a lot of, as an enterprise projects, usually there are a lot of departments involved, a lot of stakeholders. They all want to be part of the project. So how would such a project look like with those tools involved? I take it maybe the agency would start with a design proposal, probably.
So I think the way that we're set up here is exactly how the flow would go, where it starts with Greyd and goes through Atarim and then finishes with Aurelio with WP Umbrella for the maintenance component. So we have creation, collaboration, and maintenance basically in the flow here. So yeah,
There are Then I would start, I would say, because basically we do it that way with your software too. I mean, at the beginning you get a kind of Figma, and they show you what they want to have, yeah, and you talk about functionality and so on and so forth. But let's start with that. We would start with creating the global design system in the site editor. So we represent the brand and everything we need. Yeah, so we can control that on the whole website then, and also the multi-site system or whatsoever. Then we would create post types, taxonomies, patterns, templates, the whole site structure. Yeah. In big projects, and at the moment we have a big project with a huge German customer, also with Atarim. Basically, they have 150 microsites. So we created the global design system and then a central library with all the things that you need. Yeah. And from that point on, if we have that, we would roll out all the patterns, the design patterns, etc., to all those websites. Yeah? And then you have those websites, and then you would maintain the content. And for example, if the content is global, so if it is a post that should be on all of those 150 websites, you would then start with rolling out that content to all those microsites. And what is fine with Greyd? I mean, we had it all. We have one UI, we have a form generator, a header builder, a pop-up builder, whatsoever. It's one UI, and there you could build that whole website with the whole content, roll it out, make it dynamic, whatsoever. So we would start with a Figma and end with a system of websites. And then the next one, please.
I was just about to say this sounds like perfect, like the one example that Vito said before. If you're on your own, you can do this in a couple of days, or maybe this size of project, maybe a couple of weeks. But then the customer comes in.
and then it goes 2 months. Yeah. Um, so this is really where we come in. So once Atarim touches a few different touch points within the delivery process, it starts with the intake. So even before we have a design, we need to understand the client requirements and what are the things that we're actually building, what are their goals, who is the audience, what is the style that we're gonna be leaning towards. All of these different pieces of information that we need to collect. Historically, in my agency back in the day, we used to have a gravity form on the website that was collecting this information, and magically, it just stayed on the website, so no one knew in the team actually what was going on because it was just in a different environment. So that's why we decided to bring an intake process into Atarim so that we can centralize, and we can see that across the three companies that we have the similar mindset of centralizing our components into creating a more of a seamless experience. And I also think that this is just an aside that this is one of the interesting ways that software is evolving over the past few years as people are niching down. They're thinking more in these opinionated software, if you will. So yes, you can integrate, you can do that, but you can actually have like the whole thing hosted in one kind of place so that you can just streamline the experience instead of involving a billion different tools. And for the delivery process, for example, most agencies that we talk to use between 7 to 15 different tools to deliver the project to their client. This includes Google Docs and spreadsheets and Zoom calls and emails and Slack messages and WhatsApps and then let's go to Figma and then let's go to this Google form, and everything is just completely fragmented in terms of the client experience. And I even from when I first realized that, I was thinking about myself with something that I don't feel as comfortable as you here, which is more on the financial side. If my accountant would have told me that I need to switch between 15 pieces of software within the first 6 weeks of our experience together, or even if they didn't tell me, but just try to take me through all of that, obviously I would resist, and it would take a lot longer than just create a seamless experience. So the way that we tackle this is through visual collaboration and workflow management. So once you have the intake form coming in, and you don't have to have the client fill this out, especially for a larger project. You might use that as a process, as a system, that you have the same questions and you interview the client and just type in the questions, just so that you make sure that you have everything nicely organized and you ask the right questions systematically. So then you don't need to come back and say, wait, what can you also send me the target audience? Oh, you don't know who the target audience is? Let's do another call and do that. So everything nicely organized. And we have some templates that we share as well for that. After this process, it goes into the design. And once we have some sort of a design, it needs to be approved. And that's where it goes to the visual collaboration element. With Atarim, you have the ability to click any part of any design or websites to leave a comment where the request is. That basically provides or leans into the human experience of how people leave feedback, which is 3 to 5 words. And this is really an interesting point that we found, is that most people naturally, that's how they provide feedback. For example, make this green, this should be bigger. So they point and say 3 to 5 words. And instead, what we expect as agencies is long form discussions. Is on this page, when I scroll down to this section, and on the left, there is a section that was saying this, and here's a screenshot, here's the URL, I was on my phone. No one does that. It's always 3 to 5 words, and that's what creates a bunch of the back and forth. And let's get on a Zoom call. And wait, are you on your phone? Are you using Internet Explorer from the 90s? So what we did is we basically leaned into that experience, leave 3 to 5 words. Everything else is augmented and automated around that experience, so that when the person receives it, they still have 100% of context and clarity. But then when you're also designing, you also have the concept of content. Someone needs to review the content, make sure that it sits nicely, no orphans anywhere, that it's correct, especially when you're working in enterprise, everything needs to go through multiple stakeholders to approve. Can we say this? Is this how we should say this? Is this what we are saying about this? All of these questions are vetted, the larger the organizations are. So that all happens inside the interface. And then we have the dashboard, which is where people actually manage all of these flows, so all of these pieces of communication. So we have like a Kanban system, but also a way to distribute this to any system. So for example, when you get a message, already it sits inside ClickUp or Jira or Trello or whatever, with an automated screenshot, with the screen size, with the URL, and the 3 to 5 word message that, with all of the augmented context, gives you everything that you need. And after that, we go into so let's say we went through the revision rounds, went through the content process, which is way shorter if you do it in a visual and streamlined way. And then we go into maintenance, which is where our inbox comes in. So most of our users keep either the WordPress plugin installed, or they have that Atarim project still live after the project was launched, so that there can be an exchange of ideas and requests coming from the clients or from team members or for people that review the content on an ongoing basis. That is complemented by an inbox that is kind of like Zendesk, or what Aurelio was saying, that instead of using Gmail to manage all of your communications, which is a recipe for trouble already, you want to make sure that you have a place where your team can come in, where you can assign team members, you can set the statuses, tag things around, and all of that. And that's how we approach the maintenance aspect after the creation. And then it goes to WP Umbrella.
Well, you're so good at transitioning, guys. Well, I without a proper tool, actually, you cannot make or sell WordPress maintenance. I mean, you can, but then it's not profitable. Because what's the process if you're not using a tool? So you log into every website and you push the update button of every plugin. And then you need to have a backup plugin because it's WordPress and many things can go wrong. And so we need a backup. And the issue is you need probably to install this backup plugin also on all your websites. So it's another plugin to update. And then most of the backup plugin, they leave like a very heavy zip folder on your server, which is so awful for your website performance. And then if you do just that, which is about updating the website and keeping a backup, you are just doing the very basic of WordPress maintenance, and you are already losing so much time because you don't have an overview. You don't have a way to do bulk actions. You are not doing any kind of reporting. Um, and this, in my opinion, it makes WordPress maintenance not profitable. And I'm always shocked because we are a new product. It was created like 3 years ago, and most of our clients, they are coming from existing competitors. But still, from time to time, we onboard a new clients with hundreds of websites. And I have like, it happened to me like last week. It was a French agency, and they were paying 2 person just to
Wow.
do updates, clear the cache, and check that the websites were not broken every Thursday and Friday. Can you imagine? Like a full-time job. And can you imagine how boring this job is? Um,
And on a Friday, that's even worse.
and on a Friday, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so many things went wrong there. But still, I mean, if you just do updates and backups, you're already losing money, in my opinion. And with the right tool, you can also have like uptime monitoring, and so you know before your clients that his website is done, and so you don't get a phone call for a very angry customer telling you, "What the fuck? Why my website is done? What are you doing?" And actually, you are discovering the issue. So with the right tool, you can also be proactive and tackle the main pain points in the relation with your clients. Then, of course, comes the reporting, the security, etc., etc., etc. People not like WordPress management tool, or they probably don't really understand and see the benefit of WordPress maintenance and the value. Because if you do uptime monitoring, safe updates, automated backups, security monitoring, automated reporting, it's such a no-brainer to start selling something and earning like few thousand of euro per year of recurring revenue based on WordPress maintenance. And it's so easy to do. So, in my opinion, and I know it exists, but if you don't have the good WordPress management tool, you actually cannot make any profit out of WordPress maintenance. And if you don't make profit, since it's not the most fun activity in the world, you are just wasting your time and your money.
Absolutely. And I think this is not just relevant in like in our example project where we have one customer with a lot of sites. I mean, we sometimes have cases where one project involves like up to 1,000 websites, and imagine like updating and bug fixing and whatever on 1,000 websites alone. But it's also for smaller agencies who maybe have like smaller projects, but then they have like different customers. And even if it's just 10, 20 customers, it's still 10 to 20 websites that need all these maintenance tasks to be done. Yes, I can completely imagine. So yeah, we already covered the website building. We covered a little bit of the maintenance already. I think the go live itself is also something that causes a lot of issues for the agencies. This is also something that all three of your tools can help with, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And yeah, going live, especially with big projects, is a pain in the ass. And no matter how good your product is, it keeps the developers awake at night. Yeah. Therefore, I mean, if you want to manage a lot, you have to do that from one point. We created the Greyd Hub for that. The Greyd Hub basically is a dashboard where you see all your projects. That could be one project, multi-sites of one company, or you could be a small agency with 10 different projects, for example. Yeah. And as the site editor is about reusability and use patterns again, and maybe from different themes or so. Because, for example, at Greyd, you could use the Ollie theme on Greyd because you like that. Yeah. And we created the Greyd Hub where you basically can import and export design settings, databases, contents, plugins. Yeah. And when you think about import and exporting plugins, you always think about Umbrella. Yeah. Because that totally makes sense. And you also have a staging system. And for example, if you think about there is you have to go live with 10 projects today. Uh, you would need more than those 2 developers on Friday, because all those projects basically go live on Friday. We know that, yeah, and that is always a problem. But with Greyd, you could do that in 1 minute, and with the Greyd Hub. And for example, yeah, if you have a problem with one plugin, we know that with Umbrella and with our Greyd Hub, we know where that plugin is used, and then we can get rid of the problem very fast. Yeah, so you don't just manage the process of maintenance and the process of communicating that Umbrella and Atarim do. You also need to manage your whole website systems itself. Yeah? So you have to keep them in one spot, because, for example, if you use 10 patterns for 5 different brands and projects and something goes wrong, basically that what you said, Vito, that this is too small, this is too big, that pattern is broken. We know that, yeah. And if we see that on Atarim, we know where those patterns are used, yeah. Maybe in one brand, maybe on different, yeah. And then we can fix it in minutes, yeah. And that is the thing that you need, yeah. Because if you use things globally and on the enterprise level, you have to do that. You have to do that fast, and you can't say, I fixed that problem on one site, but
Right.
it occurs on 500 different sites, yeah. And if you want to maintenance that too, yeah.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, we talked about discovering the value of what you do. And I think a lot of these, especially those maintenance tasks, the issue that you have when you charge them is that the customer, they don't really see or understand them. And I really like what you said, Aurelio, that those tools, or your tool especially, also enable you to like create individual reports automatically that are, I think, especially for such enterprise customers, that's something that it's really important to also showcase what you're doing, but without creating additional effort just to creating all those reports. I think this is also a thing that a lot of agencies can refer to, like creating all those reports for the customers itself is a task that can take hours every month. Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah, sorry. You wanted to add something?
You're just a very shy indeed.
I think we kind of already covered my next question, but let me ask it anyway in case anyone wants to add something. We talked about there are different processes depending on whether you're really like a large scale agency and then tackling like enterprise level projects, or if you're like a solo freelancer or just a small agency. Would you say there's a difference in how important scalability is depending on the size of your agency or your business?
So the way I look at this is that the processes are actually not that different. The depth of the systems is where the difference comes in. And so like the stages are almost always there. And if they're not there, then it's a sign for trouble ahead. Things like going directly into building the whole thing. That's a no-go. That would be a mistake if you're doing it as a freelancer, which many of us I'm sure have done. It's like, okay, I got what the client did, let me just build it. And then you come back to the client, it's like, wait, no, this and that, and you go a few steps back. Same thing on product. I'm sure that you've seen this within your product teams as well. When a designer or developer gets excited and builds a feature, and sometimes it's like, oh, that's very cool, but sometimes like, why weren't you just doing what we have on the roadmap?
Yeah.
Uh, so so like the stages are always there, whether we do it or not, at every different level of scale. What I would like to encourage, and this also connects to what you mentioned before there, Sandra, regarding the launch. This is another example of that. Um, the launch is just a process that needs to be executed on. Now, when you're doing it as a freelancer, most of the times it would be just you looking at it and going through clicking around. I'm not saying that all freelance, but as you're getting started, let's say, not freelancer, because some freelancers might be doing the same thing for 20 years and extremely proficient in what they do. But as you're starting, a lot of times you just look at the page and just like, okay, this looks cool. Let me click this button. All right, fine, it's worked. Let's send it over. And then all of these problems come in after. The way that we approach this as the agency and also now within the product is um, a pilot has a checklist before they take off. and they have been trained for many years. The level of responsibility that they had to acquire to actually fly people in the freaking sky is extremely high, and yet they still go through a manual checklist every time and manually check things off, literally, to make sure that everything is done properly and they don't miss anything. They don't rely on their memory as pilots, and that's also true for doctors or any other high stakes kind of operation that is out there. So if we want to ensure quality, we have to map it out, and most people eventually do it. So why not just do it straight away? And I would like to encourage whoever is watching, go to ChatGPT and write and ask it to give you a checklist for your next launch project, or your next going live kind of sequence, and it will give you all the stuff that you need to do.
And as Aurelio said, that is mental load. I mean, you don't need that list in your head. You don't need it. I mean, you need to be able to be creative and productive. You don't need to have that list. Just follow it. That's basically the first thing that I say to young people that we hire into the company. Spend your time with creative and important things, and the rest of it, follow a plan. If you don't have a plan, you won't succeed. Start now. Yeah. But some people don't want that, but you really have to manage to follow a plan. Yeah, stick to the plan, and then you raise quality with that.
Scalability is everything. And you don't need a lot of processes, but you need to have some. Um, and I think it's the difference between successful agencies and the people who stays pirates, if I can say, you know. Um, and I always say, like, it was easy to create the WP Umbrella, make a WordPress management tool where you can do a few updates and do some stuff that works on 500, 2,000 websites. But the challenge is to make, for WP Umbrella at least, to make 40,000 backups between midnight and 4 a.m. How do you do that? And if you don't have like if you don't have clear processes, if you are not very sharp on what you want to do, what matter, what doesn't matter, then you get lost. And I think no matter the size of your agency, and maybe you are just getting started, but if you don't have processes, you are going to be lost. And I think what Vito said with the flights, it's a perfect example of what people should do. Without starting something, okay, why do I do this? What do I need to make it a success? And then you have a plan, and then you can execute the plan, and then things are going to be okay. Because we are not saving life, which is also something we should not forget. We are here to deliver
And
work
it's
for a client, and that's it.
it's Pareto. Basically, in every project, 80% of the problems are the same. So you could get rid of them. Yeah. And last year, I was on a podcast on an Austrian podcast. It was basically concentrating on pirates making WordPress business and how can they earn money. And they all talk about scaling. Yeah. And I said, yeah, day has 24 hours, week has 7 days. Yeah. If you want to sleep, make the best out of your hours, and then you have to become a businessman. Yeah, even if you have a small business, you have to become a businessman. Yeah, you said it, Vito. It's getting deeper, but the rules are the same, and you can't change those.
Right.
Not that easy. Not many people come and change the rules. Yeah, not many. Yeah, we call them Einstein and stuff. Yeah, you have to stick to the rules. So
Yeah, and I mean this whole you have to be in control of the processes and scale and all this. This sounds overwhelming, but basically we just covered an entire enterprise example project, and we were just talking about free tools making life easier for you, and basically you don't need much more. It's like Mark said before, you need to be in control of the hosting, and this might probably depend on the kind of project that you're building. You need to have a great tool to actually build the websites and to be able to build any kind of website. You need to be able to automate as much as possible and centralize all these maintenance and tasks and still things that you have to do on any number of website, and need to be in control of communication. And then that's basically it's just 4 things. And if you manage to get a tech stack that combines these processes and makes them efficient and products that work together in a really good way, then that's actually it already. Then you just do what you're good at and create great designs and build complex stuff. And yeah, just excel on that.
I would like to add to this that you can buy the best guitar in the world, you still need to learn how to play it. And this, I think, is true for all of our systems as well. But for every new technology that you want to implement, every tool that you bring into your stack, you know, spend time understanding what the value that the tools you acquired can provide to you and your team. Like, I say this to our team because we build product. And so the way that I look at this is that we have a bunch of people that wake up every morning, think about the user, and try to create something that is going to save them more time. Every day, we've been doing that for 5 years. There's a group of people that think about people's processes and flows and try and actually do something about it. While most people, if I look at my own self with other aspects of what I do, I just work on autopilot in most cases, and I just repeat the same repetitive processes, the same kind of things that is, like for example, we open Zoom. So to open Zoom, I need to go to my calendar and I click the calendar link, and then it opens Zoom, and then it opens in the wrong user, and I click the drop down in the. It's already down to like a pluck, 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 pluck to open that Zoom call instead of just one click, and I do that a couple times, if not more, if not a dozen times a day. But this is an example of how, as a user, I don't appreciate how to look into Zoom a little bit further to try and see how I can actually streamline the process, because they probably already figured it out. They have a bunch of people sitting there every day thinking about how to make my life easier. All I need to do is listen and learn the tool and actually master it like you would master a musical instrument, so that it can provide you the utmost value of it. So whatever tool anyone is using, look around, and you'll probably find a few other examples that can scrape time out of your day and add more value to your life for sure right now, even with the tools you already have.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one last question, maybe, before wrapping up for today. We talked a lot about scaling and cutting costs and all that. What key performance indicators should agencies track to actually measure if they are improving on getting more productive, becoming more efficient? I mean, these are all words that everyone is using. Like Mark said, everyone wants to scale and be more productive. But what key performance indicators do you actually have to look at if you want to do that?
For me, the first one is time. You're selling time. Yeah. So track the time. People think of this as a negative thing, but you're actually paying for every single minute. Might as well understand where it's going and how you can allocate the resources better. So just the exercise of tracking time, even if it's not for a billable experience or sharing this with clients, just internally, is going to tell you where you can place your focus to streamline more of the work that you're doing. Where do you spend your time every day?
At WP Umbrella, we track something else, which is the revenue divided by people. So how much money are you making based on your number of team members? And you might be surprising to see how, by equipping your colleagues with the right tools, can skyrocket productivity. If you think about customer support, I don't believe in AI customer support, but I do believe that, for instance, AI can skyrocket the productivity of our team member by 10 working in the customer support department. And this is the kind of things that we are looking for, because maybe spending like $300, $400, $500 on customer support tool per month is actually a huge productivity and money saver at the end of year. So at WP Umbrella, we looked at the revenue divided by people.
I love that.
I mean, you have to start with time, because in the last 10 years, not one of my employees could exactly tell me what is he doing on a day? I mean, yeah, I did some things here and some there, but if I ask how many hours of calling customers, like those 100 customers, basically we did the same when we started. How many hours did you spend that week? Yeah? And then they give you a number that is a feeling, and that is always so wrong. Yeah. And then I tell people, you have to write that down, and we have nice tools for that. You could also use Excel if you want, but write that down, use a tool. Yeah. But people don't want to be totally transparent, because then they think, what he wants to know something that I don't want to tell him, blah 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 blah. And that doesn't make sense, because if you want to do things better, and if you want, most times it's not about the conversion of the sale, it's about I didn't spend time on customers, I spent time on something different. Yeah. So first of all, you have to know what are you doing? Am I doing enough? And then comes what Aurelio said, that comes some kind of revenue per employee, per hour, earnings per employee. And in the end, it has to be something return on sales. Yeah. Something like that. And you have to measure that. And this is responsibility. And everybody has to know that. Yeah. And for example, if an employee comes and wants to have a raise, a race is not about the past, it's about the future. So it's about productivity. Yeah. And then they could easily say, in the future, I re-evaluated that process, and in the future, I can talk to 20% more customers in the first round. Yeah, that would be great. And you have to track time, and then you have to combine it with a kind of revenue, and then you can scale, and then you can make things better. Otherwise, a human brain is absolutely not able to do statistics. That's proven. Yeah. So you have to write that down. Yeah?
Yeah, and you're right, because time is extremely subjective. Like something. We've been sitting here for more than an hour. It felt like 15 minutes, because it's nice to talk to other folks, that are doing a similar stuff, and have an interesting conversation. So time is just how we perceive it, and that's why a lot of times these tasks that we say, oh yeah, it's gonna take me 5 minutes. 3 hours later, you're like, what happened? And it's because you actually enjoyed doing it, which is a good thing. So maybe if we track it, we can figure out what are the things that you don't like, that you do procrastinate on, like you were saying on these booked calls. But as we were talking, I was thinking of one stat that we track now religiously, that we did not track at the agency, but actually could have been extremely transformative to understand the value of our business, but also the longevity of our clients, which is lifetime value. It's a very basic stat that you track, or KPI that you track within SaaS and within product, but in an agency, maybe others did, and maybe I just didn't, but we didn't. And looking back, I think that would have changed completely our outlook of how we were chasing after new clients, rather than highly focus on even more on our existing ones.
And in the same direction, something that we have started to track at WP Umbrella, and that could be meaningful to track for an agency, is also the number of tickets per clients. Because we have like a few clients, they manage like 50 websites, and over the past like 4 months, they have opened like 60 or 70 tickets.
Right.
Some of them are rightfully open, and some of them are just like, I think you're having a bad day, uh, and you need someone to talk about it, but that's not our job. And I think in agencies are experiencing this a lot, and I think it's not like uh, an all-in-one solution. Like some clients, they are taking more of your time, and it needs to be objectivized in one way or the other. You can charge them more, or you can tell them to go away, because in the end, time is money, and if you are spending too much time with a client which is not giving you enough money, then you are losing money. And it's something that you probably need to start to consider.
Absolutely. I think we could go on for hours. Like I said, it just feels like 15 minutes, but we're actually already over an hour. So I think this is a good time to wrap it up for today. Or does anyone of you have something that you definitely want to share in this conversation that we haven't covered so far?
I mean, besides thanking you for the invitation, or gathering this very nice room. And good.
I'm the one having to thank you for taking the time today to discuss this super interesting topic. I mean, we've covered a lot of things today, but there's a lot more to dive into, and I'm sure that we will hear more on that from you guys during the next couple of months on some events and then also some other occasions. So thank you very, very much for today. For our listeners, for those of you who haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. Also, to make sure to not miss the next episode, which will be again a really great one, this time hosted by Jessica Lischik. And she will talk to Ollie co-founder Mike McAllister about creating websites with the plug and site editor. So make sure you tune in to that one. And the three of you, thank you very, very much for being with me today.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Hi, everyone.